Hello all, Xyceres here. We are doing another base tour for my most recent mastered base. This one is Redfield. It is a brutal base. It was built on a large plot, started at 4500, currently 63,250, 6325, not 250, that would be huge. It was a 4500 gen mat base. I picked this one up instead of a 9000 because I just wanted to try and rush a entry for the month July Discord monthly builders contest. It didn't get done in time, as you can probably guess by the fact that this isn't July anymore. Anyway, as for this one, during its 10 level ups, it got 53 raid attempts for 210 kills for a ratio of about 4 for kills. It also got 76 total accolades, split up 29 fun, 3 brutal, 15 ingenious, 29 artistic. This gives it a accolade ratio of about 1.4, with the highest being fun and artistic. As you can probably tell from the preview there, it is a giant castle, so artistic I feel like was pretty much a given. I'm a little surprised at the lack of brutals. There is at least one kind of difficult encounter that a lot of people had trouble with, but we'll go into that when we actually get into the tour. Firstly, let's go for a run of it. And we are back. Okay, so we're looking at Redford. Let's start with the external. There's quite a lot going on in this map just in general, so this may go a little long. I apologize for that. But let's start with this open area. There's no traps or anything in this entranceway. Just, you got big gates, you got the drawbridge thing going around. I've got these things here I thought might represent some wheels that would pull the gate back up into position. And this hole here is the same size as the drawbridge on the ground here. You also notice a moat a little bit. This is just like a natural occurring hole on the map, and the drawbridge goes across it for obvious reasons, and I put acid to cover it so that it actually works as a moat. The spikes were added a bit later. What they are doing, if you jump through this, any spot where there isn't a spike you can jump through, and you'll end up in the section below here. And because the corrosion cubes are one down, you can pretty easily grapple to get back out. And the important thing is, I've marked this bit here pointing below the cubes, which if you follow, ends up going to the tomb. So this is the first of the tombs, and yeah, you can see one spike that's not specifically for the purpose of just hiding things, just wanted to put more spikes on this side because there's quite a few over here, and there was only one on this side. And yeah, blood decals just to make them look like they're spikes. If we go around the actual edges of here, you'll notice a lot of this mossy decals running like side by side and up. I wanted it to kind of look like there's lines all over the exteriors of the buildings that we're talking about. So the walls in particular have a lot of them. They mostly just run up, but you get some like this where they run off to the side and whatnot. I think this moss decal, if you get too close, it becomes really obvious what's going on here. But I think from a distance, it actually looks pretty good. And you generally aren't going to, shove your face into a wall to look at moss decals. This here is just for color contrast. It is something that is slightly different to the rest of the base, so it makes sense for there to be a little bit of contrast there. And this is just to try and blend it together a little bit. Now, you would have noticed in the run that these guys weren't here. These guys are pathed into this cube here. They're both Bloodlust guards. So the reason I dealt with them first is if you try going in and don't deal with them, they can sneak up behind you. Although, considering I ran through, probably didn't need to deal with it. But I've got a few Bloodlust setups for this first room here. And you can see more of the moss, and some of the moss going up here as well. So it also goes up some of the buildings. This building here, I envision as like a monastery type thing. So it's using this as a symbol, which I've placed a few spots. There's like right there in the back of the church. It's on the house over here as well. You'll notice that these are mostly church blocks, as opposed to the next building is mostly the rugged home blocks. Because it is supposed to be like a big shared house. All the lights are these medieval ones because it just kind of makes sense based off the theme of what I'm doing here. Yeah, so you come in here, big, fancy, mostly clean, a little bit of this moss going around, but the floors themselves are fairly clean, and we've got some ravages on the entranceway. Both of these have Dead Man Switch. They are to sit here, and they are to kill you if you enter the room proper. You can't easily deal with these, and part of the reason why I didn't deal with this room is with dual sword. It's very difficult to kill one of these and survive, because you normally get either pegged by the other one or by the enforcers down here. Just because Ravages shoot so fast. This guy here, he is standing here looking up at that block. He's more decoration than anything, but he does act as a Bloodlust guard as well. So he will run in here normally if you come in the front door and come out this way. And he has Bloodlust and Flame Walker, so if the person did come a little bit further forward, they would get caught here. So this one mostly catches people. This one, if someone is here and like pops up, they will see that guy come around that corner, but they'll normally get caught by these guys from behind. That's the reason for the Bloodlust setup for that one. If you go in to about here to deal with these guys, you can get caught by these Ravagers, but assuming that you're dodging upwards at this range, you can probably get away from them. So what ends up happening is this guy or this guy will normally catch you, because they'll be coming in through this door and this door respectively. The only really good way to get through this room immediately is to speedrun it straight into the hallway that you actually need to get into. And a lot of this is all set up to try and force you into there. Like this whole room is fairly dangerous, and that is an easy solution that you could come up with, that a few people did come up with. For obvious reasons, we get a lot of, well, you don't get a lot, you get a few speedrunners. This here, this is supposed to just be a greenhouse. It's really just a place for this guy to hide, but I also put this here because I noticed that a few people were making the wrong call and going to the left instead of the right, and they would go roughly this way. They would normally touch this at some point and then go and then hide here. And originally that was there, and it was just pointing over here. They would always trigger it, but they would never die to it, because when you're standing here, the hunter doesn't actually have enough, because there's a minimal amount of spread that can happen. It doesn't actually go far enough, and they would just shoot straight across and hit this, and it was useless. And this has been slightly better, and it's really just like a small thing for this room. You'll notice that so far every single corrosion cube has been just decoration. There are so many corrosion cubes. In fact, let's just look it up. There are 47 corrosion cubes on this map, and 46 of them are just decoration. 44 of them. Sorry, there's 2 more in a trap setup coming up. It's really silly. There's so much of my capacity is just corrosion cubes, and then a ton more for the blocks for all the walls and stuff, which makes sense when you're building something that's clearly was designed to be artistic. Anyway, let's go through here. These are just to try and dissuade people from sprinting all the way down here and doing what I did in the run. They're not actually that effective. Occasionally this will get someone, but generally speaking, it's pretty safe to come straight in here. A lot safer than actually clearing the room. This here, Hunter Relentless. It's just there to be really hard to parry, and the combination of Hunter and Relentless means that if you do go forward, you can still get hit by it. And considering it triggers back here, you actually have to get quite far before you can actually go into one of these. And you sometimes get a few more of the bolts triggering, because like you obviously only get like half the bolts because it's a half corridor. You sometimes get more of the bolts going down this way with the Hunter mod, which is nice. This is just another thing this is just the last thing to like block off this corridor a little bit. Now, we have 2 hollow cubes here stacked on top of one another. This top one is obvious, it doesn't have picture perfect, but you want this one has to trigger no matter what, because you can't not go past here. And it will trigger, and it's just a masquerade one, and all it does is there are some guards up here, and one of them has glitched. So let's just fix that quickly. He should be going down there, and then running down here, and then coming up to about here. Now, cool. It's really annoying that those paths break every like other time I come into this thing. Anyway, yeah, so this one here, it's... Oh, now 2 of them are broken. Oh, I'll fix that later. Fix that after I've finished recording. Yeah, so they get stuck in here because of the... They get stuck in here because this gap here, it's because the because the masquerade effect is slightly bigger than the hollow cube, so they don't clip into it when they're avoiding it. You can put them into a gap like this, and they will stop here, and all they do is they run straight down. Honestly, you could do that on this corner pretty safely, like they are standing right now, and it would be the same. I like having them run down from up here. I think it looks cooler, and it's not as immediate what's going on, which is fun. The one down here, this is picture perfect, and it's got bomb traps with chaos on the floor. This is just to throw bombs into this whole room, make this whole room dangerous. Though you can normally get back here to avoid it, which is part of why this is here. There's also this one here, which I believe is spring load. That's just supposed to fire bombs all the way down here if someone's being like really careful and just like peeking like slightly here and trying to like pick up ammo off that, and maybe I can catch someone. It's one of the last traps that was added. If I put flames here, these all die. I'm not really sold on it being a bomb trap at the moment either. Just not really sure what I can do instead. This setup I've quite liked. So there were two Ravagers. One, two. I might need to change them up a bit because I think they're short leash Ravagers, but they can get pulled into the incinerator here, which if I move them back to about there, they wouldn't be able to, which would be nice. But then if I path them, yeah, I'll have to think about that. Because I do plan on improving this potentially after. Now that it's mastered, I may still continue working on it because this, I think, is a map that I may enter in the competition in future. Anyway, yeah, so this here is to try and pull you back up after you peek out. You can deal with it pretty easily with a Volt Lancer, but with any other weapon, it's actually kind of difficult. Maybe not Demo Cannon because you could just bounce off this wall. But the idea is you come up here to peek at these Ravagers. If you decide to go all in, you've got this bolt shot and this bolt shot to deal with. I think there's a... Yeah, there's a cannon back here that moves over to this side. That should normally be shooting down here as well. But he does often get killed by this one, this bolt shot, if you don't immediately deal with it. Anyway, yeah, flames go over here, that stops you from backing up, so you get stuck in these bolt shots and Ravagers and one cannon back, and that's just a lot to deal with without being able to back up. But if you deal with this initially, you can deal with this pretty quickly, and then you just have to deal with these Ravagers, and then you can have a pretty safe spot to pop in and out of. Here we're getting to the second two. I marked it with the same decal so that it would show. I've got a hollow cube here with chaos and spring-loaded traps behind it. These traps bounce. Spring load is to try... When you put spring load on this particular trap, it bounces them with such force that they sometimes actually get up to here. So you actually need to back up to about here to be safe from this, which I've caught at least one person with that, so I think it's worth it. They also sometimes get into here, but this trap here is in case they don't. This is just an impaler. It's a blind corner because of this ramp here. You can't see it until you're like here-ish, pretty much. And it obviously covers this. And the bombs will hit pretty much everywhere here, guaranteed. Sometimes to here, but not always. And the impalers to cover that eventuality. And yeah, just a little hidey hole, and we're actually inside the wall at the moment in this section here, which is also where the main level goes. The main level goes inside the wall, which is why this is a one wide corridor, because if I make it too wide, the walls start having to be thicker in certain spaces and it doesn't look as uniform as I would like it. So that's what's going on here. It's just Hunter and Double Down, I think. I just had some extra capacity. So this here is just kind of punish people if they're not looking up. They can come to about here and double down, because if they try going forward, get spooked by the bombs and decide to go back, they could get caught by the, either the first or second shot. We'll see. And these are just a bunch of incinerators to cover this area to make it more difficult to get through here. None of these are... That one up there is probably the only one that's actually pretty effective. And this guard here is up, stands up here a little bit because he doesn't want to get hit by the bombs. Because the bombs up here have a splitter and an impaler protecting them if someone tries to grab their ammo, which does get people sometimes. And because you can't see it because of the thing here very well. See? You get people occasionally with that. But anyway, the splitter throws them in 3 directions. Back, here, straight down, which throws them into about here, because this bit here isn't normally covered by that, and forward. They bounce off here and go forward into here. And they actually go to about here-ish most of the time, and pretty much the whole way down. The only safe spots I've found are occasionally this is safe, but not always, and actually being up in the structure. But with that impaler helps deal with the being up in the structure, and there's just nothing I can put here, because if I do put a impaler here, they can just destroy it before they even get to the bombs. And it draws more attention to the bombs, which there's already a ton of attention because of the huge contrast between the orange of the corrosion cubes and the grey of the stone tiles, stone blocks that I'm using. Which is unfortunate, but not something I can do anything about. Because I want the stone blocks to be my walls, and I think it looks great. Looks nice. This is what I'm aiming for, and I just wanted to put a bomb splitter here because I thought that was the most appropriate trap for a one wide corridor like this. I have here, this guy here is on a fast attack and bloodlust. He obviously can't actually chase you down, so the bloodlust there is to, what ends up happening is he will be standing here. He might be better off as a Ravager, I don't know, because Ravagers attack faster. I don't know for certain on that one. But yeah, he stands there, he gets Bloodlust triggered by this or this, and then as you're coming up, and then when you get to here, he is already aggroed, so he skips his aggro animation and then does his attack, which is boosted by the other mod, which means that he can actually be dangerous in such a small space. So there's only like 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, I think, where he would actually be dangerous. Cannonback is standing up here. He's supposed to have a line down there, but I don't think it works super well. I think he's probably a little bit too far back. He's supposed to just be throwing bombs down here. But I also don't want him hit by the incinerator. This is just a blind corner. Impaler on it to try and catch people. You'll notice this blood decal starts, and we've got this thing here. There is a like minor sub theme of Hellscape using the towers here. So we've got these blocks that are floating above with the Hellscape colors and this. You'll notice there are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and the last one is not actually in the tower to try and lead people on to know that there's something different about that tower, because that's the one that you can escape out of. Instead, the last one's down here in this like field that I have here, which I am picturing as like a prayer area, meditation area for the monks from this monastery. Anyway, let's quickly go back to where we were. Yeah, so because I got a small thing of the Hellscape, I wanted to like partially explain how those are powered, and I thought the gen map would be the most obvious cause for that. So I put a bunch of these blood decals to make it look like it's corruption spreading out from here because they're using this power source. This here, master decal, I like using these for hidden exits, just to say like, you've mastered my base, have an exit. This exit's not completely safe, which unfortunately means that most people don't take it, but it is pretty easy to deal with. Down here we've got Relentless and Double Down. They shoot straight up. Because they shoot straight up and there's nothing blocking them, they just keep flying up until they can't anymore, and then they fall back down. And they trigger Splatter and can kill the Raider on both the forward and downward momentum. all the way down here is where the tomb is. There is a hollow cube here that just hides this. This doesn't catch people all that often. This does. You get a lot of people drop down to, after dealing with this to grab this, and they just die to this. Probably 50-50 if someone actually tries it, on whether they actually die to that. Which is, I feel kind of silly. Like, yes, you can see that there's real bedrock around here, so it's not entirely impossible for this to be bedrock as well. But, like, this one's clearly not a hollow cube. This one's not a hollow cube. This is the only one that could be a hollow cube. Just look at it. Look in that direction and you will know for certain. Anyway, there's also a lot of people have trouble grappling out of this, but if I make it any easier, it completely invalidates the setup, unfortunately. I do have one space above it so that you can more easily grapple out. You just need to get to about, it honestly doesn't matter. As long as you can aim straight up and get an aim to about here, you should be fine. You just want to aim towards the top of the block above the corrosion cube, and you'll get past it. This isn't one of those ones where the corrosion cube's right at the top, so that you actually have to jump at the right moments in order to get out. This is just a corrosion cube that you can easily grapple through. So that's all the traps. As for final appearance things, you'll note that the gem mat has some glass around it, similar, same pack that I used for adjoining the house with the wall and the greenhousey area here. But just so you can kind of see where the gem mat is, so you can see the corruption shenanigans going on in there. I thought that would be nice. Also, the gem mat's slightly outside the walls, so I needed to block that in a little bit. We've already spoken about the moss. I've also got some salt around the edges of the roof, just to make it look like there's some wear and tear on them. And I think that might be everything. Yeah, I think that's everything. There's obviously some variation with like floors and stuff as you go through. This has got tiles. The monastery itself had white stone with the, what is it, aqua, cyan? Some kind of bluey green color. The bluey green pattern on the floor here in an alternating like checkerboard setup. Just to make some variation as you go through, alongside the variation on the walls and roof from using different blocks. That's all what I was going for. They are a little samey because the church blocks do look a little bit similar to the rugged home ones, but I think that's reasonable in this case. It's enough contrast for my liking. Anyway, that's it for me for today. This will be on social for the foreseeable future until the description says otherwise. I may do some changes to it. I'm hoping to try and improve it a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But for now, it's available to play. And if there is any new versions, I probably won't do a video on it, but you'll be able to see them in the game. Anyway, until next time, which will be the guide on the weekend, I shall see you then.